What's up, Digilogue fam? My name is Felicia, and today we're sitting down with singer-songwriter Nezi. We're super grateful to have you to learn more about your story and just hear about all the great things you have coming this year. Welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here talking with the Digilogue fam.
Yes, and you've been with us since day one. So, like I said, we're super appreciative of you just, agreeing to be a part of this. So, for starters, Happy New Year, and how has 2021 treated you so far?
So far, 2021 has been good. I really can't complain. Comparing this year, the start compared to last year, for me personally, is so much better. So I really can't complain. It's been treating me well.
That's good. That's good. And so, Nezi, you currently reside in Brooklyn, but you're originally from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. What was it like growing up there, and how has it been being from Pine Bluff, sorry, influenced your artistry?
So being from Pine Bluff is very especially coming up here from like a small town like Pine Bluff to like a big city like New York, it definitely was a culture shock for me. It took me, I'll say a solid like year and a half to really just say, okay, I'm okay with like navigating in the New York, like different boroughs, getting on the subway, getting, the hustle and bustle of the just of the city. So it took some time to kind of adjust to the New York life, but growing up in Pine Bluff was just a different experience. Because when I tell people and describe to them what Pine Bluff is like, they're like, so basically you live nowhere, like there was nothing to do. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's shaped me though a lot, just how I maneuvered through my artistry, just because the networks and like the connections I've made has been like solely off of like people really genuinely love me as a like person. So it's like, Nezi is very, well mannered. She's very like just respectable. I feel like having that Southern hospitality, honestly, has helped me just as an artist, just because, people like to feel like they're appreciated when they're like helping, or if they're, interacting with them. Everyone will always remember how you made them feel. So I feel like it's shaped me a lot, just for me to maneuver through life and just as an artist, just to be, just treat people with kindness at the end of the day. Yeah, I feel like it shaped me just as a person in general, and then with that as an artist.
That's dope. And I read that you actually started singing at age 7. So
Yeah.
what were some early influences that interested you in music?
Oh my gosh. Brandy is like my top influence. I remember getting a little like CD was scratched up from my cousins. They didn't even know if it worked anymore. It's never say never. And that was like the first R&B project I was introduced to. So Brandy is like my top inspiration. Then Jasmine Sullivan, Whitney Houston, Lauryn Hill, Maya. I really grew up in an R&B household just because my mother, she was an R&B singer as well, and she had her own band and everything when she was my age and younger than that. So my mom's also one of my influences as well. So
Yeah. So you had a very like musical upbringing, you would say.
yes, I would say that because I grew up in the church, very Southern Baptist. Grew up listening to a lot of gospel and R&B. So I feel like just having those kind of like tools has really shaped my sound also as an artist.
Right, right. So in 2016, you packed up and you moved to New York City
Yeah.
to pursue a career in music. You didn't have any friends or family there, and it takes a very brave person to actually like move somewhere where they don't know anybody. So what
Yeah.
led to that ultimate decision to move to New York City?
For me, it was realizing like, okay, I really want to do music, but in Pine Bluff, there is no like market for music. And then even further than that, in Arkansas, there's no like music industry. It's not like a music city, how like you go to Atlanta, you'll go to LA.
Right.
Sometimes you'll go to, Houston for like, South by Southwest. Like we didn't have anything. So I knew that, okay, if I really want to take my artist career serious, I need to either move to LA,
Mhm.
Atlanta, or New York. And so for me, I've always wanted to be in New York. I always just wanted to experience the life. And it was that moment when I was an undergrad, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to think fast. So I applied to NYU's Music Business program, just hoping that, like, this is my one-way ticket to get up here. Because, if I I'm in school, then I know that's how I can get up there. Because at the time, if I'm being real transparent, like I was broke. So I was like, I need something to help me get there. Right. And then I can figure the rest out. And so I got into NYU, their graduate program for music business. And that's how I got here, honestly.
Yeah. And that's a really good, like that's probably one of the best music programs in New York City.
Yeah.
That was smart for you to be very strategic in how you like could maintain
Yes.
New York City. And so once you landed in New York, like you mentioned, you enrolled in NYU's music business program. Mm-hmm. Why was it important for you to do that first? And what was that experience like for you?
For me, I didn't know the business. So I felt like I've heard so many like horror stories from people like, you know, artists that got in this deal and now they realized they could have been making so much more money had they not signed the deal, maybe just got a little more patient and waited, you know, along their journey. And I was just like, you know, what is a 360? What are y'all talking about? What is a pub deal? What is sync? What is, you know, what is perpetuity in a contract? What does this stuff mean? And so for me, being that I went to undergrad for marketing, so I was in the business building, but it's different when it's not music business. Like, while yes, I have a business degree, it's like, well, I don't know how to apply it to the music industry. And so it was just a way for me to learn the business, because I feel like a lot of artists kind of jump in too soon and later learn the business and then, kind of get screwed over. And so that program really helped me to unlock a network of people. Like I interned at Rock Nation at one point. I interned at Atlas Music Publishing because I really want to know what is it like at the record labels? What is it like at the publishing company? So that program really, really helped open my eyes to a lot of things. It wasn't perfect, just like any like school program, but for the things that I needed to get out of it, I really got out of like, okay, this is what not to do. This is what to do. Now I have like professors to lean on if I have questions about a contract, if I'm ever presented with one. Now I know what a contract looks like. So I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. I'm very grateful for that experience at NYU.
Yeah. And so like among building connections, you said you also interned at Rock Nation and Atlas. So what was it like being an artist in those spaces? Like, were you able to kind of help the other people that worked in these companies kind of get that perspective? Were you able to take some things from it? What was it like?
For me, I definitely wanted to make sure I was the student. Like, let me do, like, if I'm, like, for example, at Rock Nation, I was the digital marketing intern. It was, like, maybe 2 or 3 other interns with me in that department. But I made sure, for one, I didn't want to mention that I was an artist because, I didn't want them to think, oh, she has an ulterior motive. And because that was not my goal at all. My goal was genuine to learn what is digital marketing like for an artist at the record label. And so that experience was very eye-opening just because I got to sit in like the meetings when they're discussing like just like the strategic plans for the artists, like as far as digital, like sometimes like brand partnerships, like what they wanted to achieve for that artist. So it helped me kind of take notes like, like maybe I need to think about who is Nezi as a person so I can intertwine these things and like who I am, as an artist. So like, for example, they were talking about an artist and how they can like link up this artist with different, brands, and it made me reflect like, okay, what do I like as an artist? And how could I apply that so that if, I want to do in the future a partnership with a brand, what makes sense? What do I already like? So it just helped me to start thinking for myself, like, okay, this is important to show, 1, your personality, 2, do the things that actually sync up with you as like a person. That way it's naturally and easier for you to get like partnerships and sponsorships in the future. So it was just very eye-opening and I learned a lot. I saw a lot. So it just was a lot in those meetings that I could apply to myself as an artist. Just overall, like for social media and stuff as well.
Yeah, and you don't hear too many artists, talk about having those opportunities. So I know that it probably helped a lot as far as, building your early music career. Yeah. In addition to, interning, you also said that you majored in marketing during your undergrad. Mm-hmm. How have you been able to kind of utilize those skills?
So that degree comes in handy like every day. For me, I literally make like my own like graphics. So like for Floating, when I released my single Floating, that was me making like the typography and like the different hue on it. Of course I had a photographer take the picture, but as far as like the like artwork and the words and fonts and stuff, that's like something I do because I just look at the colors, and like marketing just helped me to realize, like, look at the aesthetic of a picture. Like, how does this speak to your audience? Does it evoke the emotion you're trying to evoke in like the music? And so those are things I think about because of my degree. Like, how does this look? How would my audience receive this? Is it like eye catching? I'm very big on like colors, and so like everything was very intentional with all the colors, you know, and every like literally every artwork you've seen. So everything was intentional. Everything I wore was intentional. You know, poses were intentional. How, you know, body language is and everything. I use Canva faithfully. I know sometimes artists are like thinking people use this extravagant thing. It's like, no.
Photoshop. Yeah.
Canva, Photoshop, to do like edits on my videos. I don't always do all of my edits on my videos. My friend Ty does. He does a lot of like the behind the scenes for me. But when I can do like a quick little like blurb of a video, I'll do that in Premiere. So it's like, as an artist, it's so important to learn those things, you know, because I feel like you can't go into it thinking like, oh, I want a deal, I want a deal. It's like, for one, you have to show them why they should sign you. Two, you should be able to do these things yourself. You know, that way they see the value in you as an artist. And that's really important to me, to work and build myself up to a point where, you know, labels are like, she can do it all already. So she doesn't necessarily need anything, you know?
Yeah. And that's dope. Because you talk about, you know, your branding and, you know, how you put together this image for yourself. And I also noticed that you have a really strong social media presence, whether you're creating a fitness tutorial or doing skincare routines, you continue to have people kind of tuned in. How important do you think social media is for any artist's career?
In today's time, it's so important. Unfortunately, I feel bad for people that are like super introverted and like social media is not their thing, because it's like you kind of have to be on social media, you know, like, especially I feel like in this digital age, I feel like Gen Z is running social. Like, they're the reason why an article said 70 artists have been recognized on TikTok. Like, it's that generation that's really shaping things socially more so than even us millennials. I think it's really important to be on social media. Even if you're an introvert, I feel like there's a way to still roll out the things that you like and love in your music and still be true to yourself without feeling like, oh, I have to keep up with these bigger established artists. It's like, no, find what works for you. And then from there, kind of curate the content so that it just comes off very genuine and authentic.
So I have to ask you, because I've seen the skincare and the fitness videos, what other hobbies or creative outlets do you find yourself immersing yourself in when you're not, you know, doing music?
For me, besides like being like super into like fitness and like skincare and then even beauty, because like I even do like wig reviews like for my hair and stuff on my page. I'm really into poetry. A lot of people don't realize that I'm very intentional with structure of my like song and how I write and things. I read a lot of poetry in like my spare time, like behind the scenes. I guess I don't show it enough. That's something I don't show enough probably on my page, but I'm like super into poetry.
Yeah. And that's dope because, you know, you recently dropped an EP called Love Trip this past September. And I can't lie, the whole project is really smooth listen all throughout it. And it's probably one of my favorite R&B projects that was released last year. So what was the inspiration behind it?
It's so crazy because when I was writing, like, I didn't think like I'm gonna write for a project. I was just like, you know what? At the time, I was like, I'm in a relationship. Let me just get out how I feel. A lot of how I write starts off like, just how you feeling? Just write it. Don't structure it, just write it. So I started off with like the first song I wrote for the EP was Floating. This is like the peak of like my relationship at the time. And so it was a love song, just expressing how much like I love this guy. And so from there, it was kind of like in real time as things were happening. So Floating was written, and then Take It There, and then You on You, when things were actually, there was a lot of tension in my relationship at that time.
Right.
The process was just it was kind of sporadic because I had floating first, and it took like months for me to like really just connect with the producer. And so once I connected with the producer, Veronica, she's the one that produced most of the EP except for On the Way, but it took me a minute to like connect with her and then actually us getting in the room creating. And from there, I just wrote how I felt. Like if I was sad one day, she would ask me like, yo, Nezi, what's your mood? And I'm like, I'm just in my feelings. Let me just like, let's, you know, find a beat that we really like, you know, gravitate to, and then kind of write up that. Yeah, it was very unplanned because I didn't think I was gonna have a project. I just was like, if I have some singles, that'd be cool. If a project comes out, cool too. But that wasn't like my like focus point. Like I have to have a project. It just turned into the fact like, okay, we have a trend here. We have like a love song. We have Take It There. We have You on You. Like we're having, you know, there's a pattern here. Like there's a little theme going on. And so from there, I just realized like, got a project actually.
Yeah. And that's like the best way, like those projects that kind of just come out unplanned are always the best. So your single On the Way was very successful, and I feel like it's the most relatable. How did the song and the video come about? Because I was watching the video, I was like, this is really, really good. And then like at the end, you know, I'm gonna let people watch it.
Right.
It's a really, really dope video. So how did it come about?
So On the Way was written last year. And I remember this is like towards the end of that relationship I was in. And it was long distance, just to be like super transparent. It's a long distance relationship. And he had all the means to come and see me. He didn't want to. He gave every excuse in the world. And so I was just like, I don't want to be that woman that's bitter on Valentine's Day. Like, I don't want to write like a breakup song. I don't want to write that, but I knew I needed to write how I felt or just what I wanted to feel. And so for me, the fact that he didn't come for my birthday, and then he didn't want to come up here for Valentine's Day, I was just like, I want to write a song about being on the way to someone that actually wants to see me.
Right.
And so it's so random because I didn't have like, I heard the beat. It was actually on YouTube, to be transparent. Some people be like, you know, those YouTube producers, it's very like, they have a bad rep.
Yeah.
But I literally it popped up. And I was just like,
it was dope.
Yeah, like it was dope. And so I listened to it, I was like, okay, I know YouTube producers, for whatever reason for people, they have like this bad rep or whatever, just because I guess because they make type beats. I heard it and I was just like, this is actually cool. And because I think it's cool, let me just try to write to it. And so I was writing and I was just like, I'm writing something, but I'm just not sold on it yet, but let me voice memo it really fast. And so I was had a session anyway that week with Alexis, who is my engineer and my manager. And I was like, I had this idea, I'm very unsure about it, but we're gonna lay it down just to see. And so I recorded it, still unsure, and she was just like, Nezi, this is a really good song. And I was like, you think so? Like, I guess I'm just in my feelings about Valentine's Day, and it's not really like how I feel is what I hope I, wanted to feel, but he's not coming up here. And so she's like, no, this is a really good song and very relatable. And so it was at that point, and I was like, okay, well, she mixed it and everything. I was like, hold on, this sounds a little good. And so fast forward, we released it. And it took me a minute to create the video because I was like, I really want to find the right videographer. I really want to like see how people respond first to the song, because I was like, if it flop, then I might wait for a little bit longer for a video. But I ended up finding a videographer like months later, like 4 or 5 months later. We shot it in October of last year and released it this month. So yeah, that's how that video came about. Yeah, it's
like I said, the video is super dope. The song is dope. And so you also have some really cool things coming this upcoming month. Can you tell us more about what should we expect?
Yeah. So, this month we're entering into February. Valentine's Day, it's so crazy how like full circle, it's like last year I was writing On the Way and now I have a project out. So
Yeah.
I'm doing a performance to one of my songs off the EP. Sure, it's a love song. I really want to highlight this song because it's actually a really special song to me just because of how it's written, and it's kind of my manifestation song. So I'm doing a kind of piano version of that song coming up this month.
Okay, and I think fans will really like that. Any other creative projects that you're working on outside of music or in music that you want to
Yeah.
tell people about?
So I'm just looking to like collab more with artists, whether it's rappers, other songwriters, put out singles for the rest, probably at least Q2 and Q3. Just I would really want to focus on like singles and building my audience and like collabing more with other artists. I'm not really pressed on like a project yet, just because I feel like unfortunately the way music is now, a lot of people aren't listening to projects,
Yeah.
and I just really want to like dive into a new like sound as well. So really focusing on like singles and like collaborations and hopefully other visuals. So that's something to definitely look forward to as well.
Yeah. And so if you could go back in time and tell yourself something before the release of Love Trip, what would you say?
Oh, this is a really good question. If I can tell myself something before the release of Love Trip, what would I tell myself? I would tell myself, wow, this is a great question.
Yeah.
It's something I actually never thought about. I like questions like this. I would honestly tell myself to slow down, actually, because everything was happening in real time as those songs were written. And so a lot of it, the emotions got like super high for me that it was actually hard to write some of the songs. Like sure, it was very hard to write just because I didn't feel that way about the guy I was with. So it was like a very emotional session for me.
Yeah.
It's just really hard. So I would tell myself to slow down because I remember moments of me feeling like I needed to rush to put this project out. And sometimes as artists, we feel like that, like I have to do this now. And it's like, you don't have to do it right now. Like definitely believe in your process. So I would definitely tell myself just to slow down a little bit, just because of what was going on around me at that time,
Right.
and and trust the process. I was very pressed to have music out and felt like I needed a body of work out. I was trying to. It's so crazy because Love Trip, I wanted it to come out so bad, like summertime, June. I was like, I need this project out. I need it out, and it was like, thank God I didn't put it out
Yeah.
during June. You know, it really came out in the way I wanted it to in September. So yeah, that's why I would tell myself, like, girl, slow down, take a deep breath. It's okay, you got it.
Right. Yeah. So what's your ultimate goal for 2021?
2021, my ultimate goal is to continue to grow my audience. Really, that's like something really big for me. Really just find like a new sound. And when I say new sound, just really experiment with like production. I really want to start producing as well, just because I feel like I have an ear for it and I can play like the piano a little bit anyway. And I always hear things in music that I'm like, oh, they should have added this, they should have added that. So I really want to just grow my fan base, continue to put out like content, collab more, and to like learn production so that next year you all can see like produced by Nezi.
That's dope. And, like I said before, the Digilogue supports you. You've been one of our, community members for a long time.
Yeah.
And we're just so happy to have you. Thank you again for, taking part in this and sharing more about, who you are as a person.
Well, thank you all for having me and always supporting me literally since day one. So it means so much.